Now, forecast first on Color 10 News.
It is a cold, wet, and kind of windy night out there. Here's a look at the rain. It is really setting up now. Just a steady, light to moderate rain over just about all of the area east of I-49. In areas to the east here along Highway 63, it's been drier there this evening. The rain's going to fill in here too as we push deeper into the night tonight. It's in the 40s right now. When you factor in the gusty winds that we have currently in Springfield, it actually feels like 40, and temperatures are only going to drop overnight tonight. In fact, to start off our Thursday, it's going to be about 43. It's going to be wet still, and it's going to be breezy. Now, we will kick the rain out, and clouds look to thin out as we work in the afternoon. It will be windy, though, with gusts over 30 miles per hour and highs up near 60. Beautiful pattern setting up in time for the weekend. More on that coming up. Color 10 News at 9 starts now.
You're watching Color 10 News at 9 on Z in high definition.
More rain is coming down across the Show Me State right now, and those in the St. Louis area are preparing for the worst. 5 people have died in Missouri flooding, and several towns have sustained damage along the Merrimack River in a suburb of St. Louis. Thousands of sandbags are protecting about 50 homes and several businesses in Eureka. And a levee is bulging at the seams in nearby Valley Park, where many residents have evacuated.
Meanwhile, dangerous flooding in northeast Arkansas to show you as well. The police chief of Pocahontas says 9 levees there have been breached. The National Weather Service issued a flash flood emergency, urging those in the area to seek higher ground immediately. The Black River in Pocahontas there broke a record for flooding overnight. Officials in areas downriver are warning residents there to start packing now and be prepared to leave.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Keelman.
Yes, we're glad to have you along here on the 9 o'clock news. I'm David Oliver. MoDOT says more than 230 roads remain closed tonight in Missouri because of all the flooding, including major interstates. Interstate 55 up in St. Louis is shut down. Also, I-44, it's closed from Interstate 270 to Route 100 near Pacific. And officials say taking I-70 as a detour is the safest option.
We strongly recommend anyone trying to cross a river to stay tuned to our traveler information map, to stay updated on lane closures in that area in particular, to have a full tank of gas, and have your bag packed with a plan, because it may take you a long time to cross the river.
Blair estimates the detour in St. Louis is taking up to 2 hours to go about 30 miles.
And the governor of Arkansas has called for the National Guard to help with evacuations and rescues in heavily flooded areas in northeast Arkansas. Governor Asa Hutchinson says there have been more than 500 evacuations so far, and at least 27 counties have declared emergency situations.
Currently, we have 108 Arkansas National Guard that's deployed. Of those, we also have 25 National Guard vehicles that are prepared for high water rescue as needed. We currently have 7 fatalities in Arkansas, and 1 child is still being looked for.
Several communities in Arkansas are still under a flash flood warning until tomorrow morning.
And now, local election results and analysis from your local election headquarters. Color 10 News.
The results are coming in for what could be a monumental night in Missouri and the U.S., Arkansas too. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Keelman.
Good to have you along here on the Z for our special election coverage. I'm David Oliver. I want to get right to the numbers right now with some high-profile races happening here in Missouri. Of course, one of the biggest being the race for a U.S. Senate seat here in Missouri between incumbent Republican Roy Blunt and Democratic challenger Jason Kander, who is the current Secretary of State. Right now, we've got 10% of precincts reporting, so the numbers are getting higher as we go throughout the hours here this evening. Roy Blunt ahead with 56% of the vote to Jason Kander at 39% of the vote. You have to assume a lot of the larger metro areas like Kansas City and St. Louis, as is the case every year, have yet to come in at this hour tonight.
Roy Blunt awaiting the results from Springfield tonight. He's holding a watch party here at the Ramada Plaza Hotel.
Our Nick Thompson is live there, where many of the faithful GOP members of Southwest Missouri have gathered for what's usually a pretty darn good party. Nick?
Yeah, it is a pretty good party here. There's a couple hundred folks here tonight all watching these election returns. A lot of these folks were on the ballot themselves today, running for offices like state representative or the county commission, or they're currently serving in the legislature here, just enjoying it with their fellow elected officials, taking in this party. You know, the one person that's missing in the room right now, though, is Roy Blunt. Of course, Roy was able to vote in Springfield today, went to the Olive Garden for dinner with his family, also hung out at the Greene County Republican headquarters, maybe relaxing, just kind of taking in Election Day earlier. But today he is actually sitting in a room separate from the party, waiting to come out and join these folks until after getting the results of what has been a very close, a much closer than anybody anticipated race. Guys, back to you.
All right, Nick Thompson, thanks. This is a map that CBS News is keeping track of and tallying closely. It basically shows the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. Tonight, we're watching 9 states where things could go either way. 3 specifically that we're watching, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Illinois, where we could see an incumbent lose and things could change. Right now, you've got 41 Democrats with a lock on their seat in the U.S. Senate. This is according to CBS News. 43 Republicans with a lock on their U.S. Senate seat. We've still got several states that are voting right now, so this is up in the air. But this is what could tip that balance of power in the U.S. Senate tonight. Our political analyst, Brian Calfano, who's going to be coming up shortly, thinks this thing could come down to perhaps a 50-50 split, with the new vice president being the tie-breaking vote there. The U.S. House still expected to be controlled by Republicans.
In the race for Missouri governor now, Chris Koster still behind Eric Greitens with 40%, Greitens 57%. Now it's 10% of precincts reporting. And Greitens, obviously the conservative outsider, Koster the career politician, former Republican, now Democrat. And Eric Greitens ahead by 57%. Mm-hmm. In the congressional race for District 7, Billy Long, who is the Republican candidate, has a substantial lead, 75%, but of course only 7% of precincts reporting, with Genevieve Williams at 21% of the vote.
We want to show you the race for the White House right now and the Missouri numbers as we're getting them here at this point. 10% of precincts reporting in Missouri. Not a big surprise here. Everybody kind of knew this was going to happen. Looks like Donald Trump is ahead by quite a large margin at this point, 66% over Hillary Clinton's 30%. Those votes, again, just for Missouri at this point.
Right, and in Arkansas, Donald Trump still in the lead, 60%, and Hillary Clinton's 35%. Of course, 6% of precincts reporting. And we had said earlier that CBS News was calling Arkansas for Trump.
And we want to show you this quick map that CBS News is providing right now. It's the electoral map. They've got 140 for Trump in their tally board to 104 for Hillary Clinton. We're not seeing any surprises yet being called officially. However, our political analyst, Brian Calfano, is watching this closely. He's seeing what is shaping up to be some interesting races in some of these key battleground states like North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, where Donald Trump is doing better than many people expected. So we're a long way from where we're going to see things shake out at this point in that race for the White House. Now, back here at home, in the race for lieutenant governor, 11% of precincts reporting right now, so these numbers are increasing as we go through the night. Local state senator Mike Parson of Bolivar, now with a 60% lead over Russ Carnahan, the former St. Louis area congressman, at 35% at this point tonight.
And Lindsey Klein is with Parson's camp tonight at Smith's Restaurant in Bolivar. Hi, Lindsey.
Hey, David and Jennifer, several hundred people here tonight supporting State Senator Mike Parson in his run for lieutenant governor. As you said, he is ahead right now, 60% to 35%. That's with 295 precincts reporting so far. And I'll let you kind of take a look at the room here. People are cheering every time they make an announcement that Parson is ahead. Of course, all these people are here to support Parson tonight. And as we've been talking about, now this is a seat that has been held by a Republican for more than a decade. Peter Kinder was the lieutenant governor, so there is kind of that added pressure that Parson, stay in that seat and keep it a Republican seat for the Republicans. His opponent is well known throughout Missouri, Democrat Russ Carnahan, a former 4-term Missouri congressman and the son of a governor and a U.S. senator. And following the death of former auditor Tom Schweik, Parson made it known he wanted to run his campaign on positivity. You see a lot of signs in this room saying positive politics, and we talked to Parson several times throughout the night already, and he was just saying he feels good about this campaign and what he's done to get here, and he's hoping the night does turn out in his favor. Of course, we will, of course, be checking with him throughout the night and talking to him and keeping you posted on those numbers. Reporting live now from Bolivar, Lindsay Klein, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
All right, Lindsay, thanks so much.
In the fight for Attorney General, Josh Hawley is ahead now with 66% of the vote. Teresa Hensley behind him with 34% of the vote. Of course, Josh Hawley could be the first Republican in more than 20 years to be Attorney General here in Missouri.
And of course, if Teresa Hensley wins, she would be the first woman to ever hold that position in our state. Josh Hawley came to Springfield for a watch party over at the Metropolitan Grill on Battlefield Road. Callie Rainey is there tonight. And Callie, I believe you've got Mr. Hawley's parents with you, right?
I do, David. Standing here with me is Ron and Jenny Hawley, who must be so proud of their son. What has it been like watching him on this campaign?
In some ways, it's surreal. We watch him and we kind of pinch ourselves, but he's been doing a great job. It's been a long road, but we're really, really excited for him. We're proud of him.
Is this something, you know, watching him grow up, did you think he would be here right now?
We have to admit that he has always had an interest in politics and in government and how things work, and so he was kind of tutoring us when he was 8 years old on the Electoral College and how it all worked, and we decided that maybe he had more of an inclination to politics than we did. So this is not a total surprise, but it's wonderful.
Awesome. Well, it's great to hear, and we will be here, you know, keeping you all updated, and he should be back here soon, so we'll have him with us this next time around live at Metropolitan Grill. Callie Rainey, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
All right, Callie, thanks so much. Take a look at the race numbers right now in the battle for Secretary of State in Missouri. Now, these two people, Jay Ashcroft and Robin Smith, are running because our current Secretary of State is Jason Kander. You know what he's doing. He's running for the U.S. Senate against Roy Blunt. So at this point, we've got 11% of precincts reporting, and Jay Ashcroft, who is a name well known because his father is John Ashcroft. Jay Ashcroft has 66% of the vote. Robin Smith, the former TV news anchor and reporter for many, many years with KMOV-TV up in St. Louis, trailing pretty large at this point at just 30% of the vote.
There are several high-profile ballot issues, including the chance for a higher cigarette tax in Missouri.
Colin Lingo is keeping tabs on those proposals in our newsroom tonight. Colin?
Yeah, that's right, David and Jennifer. I've been doing my best to keep up with the progress of two ballot issues tonight. Both are cigarette tax proposals, and but each are very different from the other. Let's take a look at some of those numbers right now. The first one you're going to see would have been on your ballot as Proposition A. It's a 23-cent cigarette tax increase, and right now we're showing 58% no and 42% yes, with 12% of the precincts reporting. Now, if this were to pass, it would look to raise the current state cigarette tax of 17 cents, which is the lowest in the nation, by the way, by 23 cents. This proposition is proposed by the Missouri Petroleum Marketers and Convenience Store Association. They're the ones behind those catchy smoking Camel mascot ads you may have seen. And now those ads are in reference to the next one we're going to talk about, which is on your screen right now, Amendment 3. It's a 60-cent cigarette tax, and you'll see here no has 62%, while we're reporting 38% yes, and again that is 12% of the precincts reporting. So now this one would want to raise the 17-cent tax by 60 cents, and the group behind it says the money would go toward Missouri early childhood education, but competitors say this increase is actually a big tobacco scheme, and that is because this Amendment 3 gets most of its funding from RJR, which is R.J. Reynolds, the big tobacco company behind Camel and Pall Mall cigarettes. David and Jennifer?
So some divisiveness there with regard to those two tax proposals. Another divisive issue finds its way into Missouri, a voter ID proposal.
Here's where we stand on that issue right now. 67% are saying yes, 33% saying no, of course, with just 12% of precincts reporting. Now, voter ID requires voters to show an ID at the polls, but it allows them to forego that procedure if they sign an affidavit there, which claims the voter is aware they can get an ID for free and that they will eventually get one.
This race has been pretty much at the percentage point you see right there throughout the night. So, you know, if this continues, we're going to be presenting a voter an ID at the polls, perhaps next time we all go to cast our ballot here in Missouri. We're also covering many issues that are happening in the natural state of Arkansas. And Grant Sloan is live in our newsroom covering medical marijuana, among other things, tonight. Grant?
Well, that's right, David and Jennifer. You know, Arkansas has been called for Trump, so really the thing that we're keeping a really close eye on is medical marijuana. And again, this is one that actually started with 2 medical marijuana proposals and then ended up with just 1. And the one that's left is issue 6. And let's take a look at how that's shaping up right now. And again, this is to legalize medical marijuana in the natural state. And currently we see that, again, very close race here. 51% in favor, 49 against, and that's with 7% of precincts reporting. And another issue that we're keeping a close eye on here from the newsroom is issue 1, and this is to increase terms for county officials. This is going to include like sheriffs, clerks, surveyors, and this is going to increase their terms from 2 to 4 years. And if we look at the numbers there, we see that this one quite a bit larger margins, 71% in favor with just over 360,000 votes against 29% against. Again there, 7% of precincts reporting. Another one that we're keeping, and this is a race that we're keeping a close eye on. Actually, this is one that's been called by the Associated Press, and this is the race for U.S. Senate. You can see that incumbent John Bozeman, who is beginning to kind of walk away with the race there. Again, that has been called in his favor against Democrat Connor Etheridge. And another one that has not been called yet, and this is the race for U.S. House District 3, and this is going to include Carroll, Newton, Boone, and Marion counties, kind of north-central Arkansas. We can see the incumbent there also winning currently, but again with only a very small margin of the votes coming in. But right now, 78% for incumbent Republican Steve Womack against Libertarian Steve Isaacson with just over 22% of the vote. And David and Jennifer, we're going to continue to keep a close eye on these races, a close eye on these issues, specifically medical marijuana. For now, back to you in the newsroom.
Officer and a suspect are in the hospital tonight after an officer-involved shooting in a neighborhood today. Good evening once again, everybody. I'm David Oliver.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Lindsay Klein. Jennifer has the evening off. Shots rang out around noon today near the intersection of Peachtree and Elm Streets in the middle of town.
Our Nick Thompson is live on the scene once again to talk more about why the officer pulled his weapon there in the first place. Nick?
Well, David and Lindsay, the Republic Police Department officers don't want to assume too much at this point, but they believe that the suspect first drove through the corner of this garage that you can see, this white garage right here, and then made their way across the yard over to here. And that's where you can see the vehicle, and you can also see the officer's vehicle. And it's also where Greene County investigators are currently looking for evidence at this hour. Now, officers believe that when they approached the vehicle, that's when the officer sustained his injuries. In a normally quiet Republic neighborhood, a chaotic scene unfolded today in front of Amanda Hillis. She was home with her children around noon and witnessed some out-of-place commotion.
We looked out here and saw that the car had drove straight through their garage, out the other side, and into the next garage. And we stepped outside and heard shots fired.
The Republic Police Department got a report of a vehicle into a building, and we responded officers over to this area here at Peachtree and Elm, where we found a vehicle inside the building, as you can see across the street.
Republic Police Chief Mike Lawton says as the vehicle tried to leave the scene, the driver struck the officer. The officer then pulled his gun and began firing. Hillis saw officers handcuff the suspect to a stretcher, and she saw what appeared to be the injured officer.
I knew it wasn't one of these guys because he wasn't handcuffed or anything, but he was collapsing in the yard, trying to make it to the street where the ambulance was coming to pick him up.
The Greene County Sheriff's Department will be in charge of investigating this shooting. Hillis is interested to see the answers they come up with.
It's not normal for this neighborhood at all, or this town. It's a quiet town. That's why we like it here, so it's very different.
Now, Hillis says that she saw one additional person, at least one other person here at the scene other than the suspect and the officer. Now, officials cannot give us a condition at this time on the officer or on the suspect. Reporting live in Republic, Nick Thompson, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Welcome back to our special election coverage. We have a race we want to get to at the top of the hour. Lieutenant Governor, it is Mike Parson versus Russ Carnahan.
Yeah, Mike Parson apparently is claiming victory in this race. Take a listen.
I looked at my Tahoe the other day that we drove. 150,000 miles are on that vehicle. And let me tell you this, we have one of the most beautiful states that you can imagine in the state of Missouri. I mean, this is who we are in the state. When you look at the agriculture lands to the urban areas, and I've been to almost all. Me and Teresa's almost been to every county in the state. You know, we're so proud of being able to represent Missouri. And the values that I think at the end of the day are who we are, that we prevail. And that's why I got in this campaign in the first place. And you know, I mean, if you know, but it's like, you know, make no mistakes. I'm not doing this for me. This campaign's not about me. It's not about me and Teresa at all. It's about us. It's about all of us here tonight. It's about what we believe in. It's about what we believe in. But more importantly, this election, I've said all along, it's about the next generation. And for most of you here tonight, you've had the right, you've had the experience to live in freedom and to live the American dream. Me and Teresa started out with nothing. A car payment's what we started out with in our marriage. And we've got to live that American dream. And most of you tonight, if you really look back at what you've done, your accomplishment, that's what being a Missourian is, that's what being an American is, and to those privileges. But I tell you, the lieutenant governor's race, and all of your people that are here tonight, let me tell you what our responsibility is. It's to the next generation. It's for our kids and our grandkids to make sure that they get the opportunities that every one of us tonight have had in our lives and our careers. That's what this election's about. It's what the national election's about tonight. Those are the things that are important in this country, in this state. That's who we are as Americans. And that's why I'm running for lieutenant governor and why we were so fortunate to win the lieutenant governor.
So you've been listening to live remarks there by State Senator Mike Parson, who is now, for all intents and purposes, claiming victory in the race for lieutenant governor, becoming lieutenant governor-elect here in Missouri. Right now, he's got about a 30-point lead over his Democratic challenger, Russ Carnahan.
Right, and Parson is from Bolivar, representing the 28th District. He served 12 years as Polk County Sheriff. So tonight, as you had just heard out in Bolivar at Smith's Restaurant, he did say thank you, really, to everybody.
51% of precincts reporting in that race, and our political analyst, Brian Calfano, felt pretty confident in saying that Mike Parson had won that race. You heard Mike Parson in his remarks there saying that he did this, not for himself, but for the people of Missouri. We also have been telling you that it was called pretty early on that Donald Trump had won the state of Missouri. Our Nick Thompson has been out covering a GOP watch party over at the Ramada Oasis tonight, where Nick is now talking with the local chairperson from Missouri for the Donald Trump campaign. Right, Nick?
Yeah, guys, the returns have been coming in, and folks have had the channel tuned to Fox News, and there's been cheering a lot in this room tonight with all those electoral votes pouring in for Donald Trump. Joined now by Aaron Willard, who was the Trump campaign's director in Missouri. And yeah, just describe a little bit to us, what was it like to work on that campaign this year?
Oh, I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, the grassroots activity was unbelievable, like nothing I've ever seen before. You know, and been involved, you know, for over a decade in campaigns here in Missouri. But I mean, just the outpouring of support. You know, I mean, people who felt, you know, disaffected, hadn't been involved in the political process before. You know, independents, moderates, even, you know, Democrats, obviously, that really felt like that they could relate with Donald Trump. So I mean, it was incredible. You know, and I think that was all corners of the state and every county. You know, we had reports of that, people saying, hey, look, we have recognized Democrats here that are really going to come out and support Donald Trump. So it was incredible. I mean, it really was an amazing experience. I think that showed here tonight. You know, I mean, fortunately for us, when they were able to call the state, you know, fairly early. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a very unconventional campaign that the historians will be talking about for a long time. What do you think made this campaign so successful nationwide? You know, a candidate who had never held elected office before.
I think that's exactly it. I mean, I think a candidate that really was very unconventional. You know, I mean, I think somebody that said, hey, you know, I've never run for office before, and you know, it's really important to me. I'm going to take my message directly out to the people, and I think that's what people wanted to hear. They wanted an outsider. They wanted to hear somebody who who didn't have that kind of experience in Washington, D.C. So.
And if Donald Trump, of course, prevails tonight, what do those first 100 days look like, you think, after inauguration? You know, I mean, just like the campaign, I think it's hard to tell. You know, I mean, he's just an amazing person. I mean, an incredible leader. And so, I mean, I think that, you know, if anything, though, I mean, he's somebody who really, he kind of rolls up his sleeves and he digs in and he starts right away. So, I mean, my guess is, you know, he's going to do it just like, you know, the campaign, where he's an incredible campaigner, works very hard. He's going to roll up his sleeves those first 100 days, and he's going to go out there and he's going to expect results. So I think, you know, there's a lot more to come if we can pull it off here tonight. So. All right, Aaron Willard, thanks for joining us again. He is the state director for the Trump campaign here in Missouri, and we will be back here later tonight, hopefully, with reaction from Senator Blunt. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Nick. We're going to get back and talk about another race that we're watching closely, the one for U.S. Senate here in Missouri. Jennifer, you got the numbers to share.
Right, Roy Blunt, the incumbent Republican, with 56% of the vote to Jason Kander's 39% of the vote. This is 52% of precincts reporting, of course. Kander is behind Blunt, and that is something that we've been watching all night.
Brian, what do you think about this? I mean, can we call this for Roy Blunt at this point?
I would call it for Roy Blunt at this point. You have more than half the precincts. He's got a 17 percentage point lead. There is no way that there are enough votes in Metro St. Louis and Kansas City to swing this for Kander. And again, I'm coming back to this whole notion that you have Hillary Clinton dragging down these state-level Democrats who otherwise ran pretty decent campaigns. Both Koster and Kander followed that Jay Nixon strategy of being conservative Democrats or moderate-type Republicans. Of course, Koster was a Republican, as we've said, and that's just not resonating with Missouri voters down ballot. And I think you're seeing Hillary Clinton underperform nationally, which is why you're also seeing Democrats doing quite poorly. Much worse than any polls would have suggested leading into tonight.
As long as you're talking about that, folks up in the control room, can we pull up the graphic right now that shows the race for governor here in Missouri? There are other media outlets statewide that are reporting that this race is over. We're not saying that at this point. I'm saying others are. Eric Greitens has 57% over Chris Koster's 40% in this race, with 60% of precincts reporting. Brian, what are your thoughts on this race at this point?
Same. Essentially, Hillary Clinton has tanked the opportunities for Koster and Kander to hold office because, for whatever reason, people just didn't warm to her candidacy, and somehow polls missed it. And I'm not just talking about one poll in one state. I mean polls nationally. The big story after the 2012 election was the polls overestimated how well Mitt Romney was going to do. And you saw Barack Obama come really early, relatively early that night, and win re-election. And so the thoughts were, well, this is the same situation here. Trump's not really leading in any poll. He's not really able to put together any kind of momentum in these polls across the country or nationally. And all of a sudden, we're seeing essentially Donald Trump with a much more realistic chance of winning the presidency tonight than anybody would have predicted. So, as I tell my students when I teach, a lot of times polls can be misleading, and we shouldn't be giving so much credence to them. Of course, it's only natural because we're trying to predict the future. We want to know what might happen. But as we can see now, people have a more egg or omelet on their face than I think they ever thought possible.
You have any thoughts, Jennifer?
No, I was just saying yesterday the polls were 4 points up for Hillary
Well,
Clinton.
and I guess you keep talking about the polls, Brian, and it makes a lot of people wonder, present company included here. If all these polls were so wrong, I mean, what do you attribute that to? I mean, you have a lot of people who don't have landlines anymore. Right. I don't have one. People who have cell phones who won't answer a phone call from an unknown number. Right. Does that factor into some of this? It does. Where they don't answer, or they don't want to, or don't want to tell you who they're voting for, or what's the deal?
That's it. And I had an interview with a British network the other day, and the anchor said to me, "Look, this feels to us," because they were going around the country to different battleground states. This feels to us like the Brexit vote, which the polls famously got wrong.
Got that big time.
The YouGov poll got wrong. I mean, they were shocked in the UK about the Brexit vote this summer. And he says to me, I know it's anecdotal, but I'm telling you right now, I think there's a lot of secret Trump voters out there just aren't telling pollsters how they're really going to vote. And the fact that it's possible to see Wisconsin go for a Republican, Pennsylvania is Hillary Clinton in that state hanging by a thread. We've got a less than 2 percentage point spread with almost 80% of the precincts in Pennsylvania. And if she can't hold Pennsylvania, this election's over. Donald Trump is the next president of the United States.
So this is really, this is a lot.
This takes a different tune than what you said at the beginning of the night.
Yeah. And I'm basing it on the polls. People say, well, how come you don't like Trump? It's not about liking or not. It's simply a matter of we have these polls. There are scientific approaches to trying to figure out what people are going to do. But as I have also said, it's very tricky in a poll because you're having to ask people what they're going to do in the future in most cases. Mm-hmm. So they're on the phone, or like you said, they're on the internet, and they're telling you, this is what I plan to do. Whether those people show up or not, it's a totally different story. One of the big assumptions was that you're going to get a lot of Latinos turning out in support of Clinton in states like Florida. Florida was supposed to be a Democratic win for Clinton, and obviously it was not. Florida was supposed to be tough for Marco Rubio to win re-election after not doing so well in the Republican presidential primary. Rubio won. So I think what we're seeing here, particularly when you add in North Carolina goes to Trump, Ohio goes to Trump, and Pennsylvania is close, is that we need to take a wholesale reassessment of how we go about polling in this country, have larger sample sizes, stop with the overnight polling, and figure out a way to at least report responsibly on these things so we're not misleading people going into the election.
We've got to interrupt you real quick because we got some breaking news going on.
Right. We are hearing right now that Chris Koster is conceding.
Today,
we're going to take a listen.
Missouri has chosen new leadership at the helm of state government. And I want to be among the first to congratulate Eric Greitens on his victory. And to offer my sincere hope that the governor-elect will lead our state toward a united and prosperous future. I want to thank all of you and the thousands of Missourians who have helped me in countless ways over the last 2 years. So many people that I have never met have given of your time, energy, and resources to help me in my effort to bring Missouri together. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I want to thank the men and women of the Missouri Attorney General's office who have stood by me through thick and thin over the last 8 years. The successes we have shared are because of your intelligence and commitment to public service and to our great state. I want to thank my campaign team, who did an amazing job over the last 2 years, presenting a vision for unity and progress to my fellow citizens. I'm proud of the case that we made to the people of Missouri, and I'm proud of each and every member of our team. You have earned my undying respect and gratitude. And I want to thank my family. Mom and Dad had 4 sons. Mom stayed up late when that is what it took to get our homework finished. Dad challenged our brains and illuminated our curiosity. I have been blessed beyond words to have these wonderful people in my corner. Finally, to my fellow citizens, it has been an honor to be considered by you for this important job. Throughout my professional life, I have loved working on your behalf as a prosecutor, as state senator, and attorney general. And even now,
Missouri
I'm
Attorney General
grateful
Chris
for the
Koster
responsibility
conceding the
and
race to Eric
experience that we
Greitens
have
now at his
shared.
campaign headquarters here in the Central West.
So you've been hearing some live coverage there, Jennifer.
Right. That is Chris Koster, the candidate for Missouri governor, conceding to Eric Greitens, who is now the governor of Missouri. The governor right there.
Yeah, the governor-elect, Eric Greitens, tonight. According to the latest results, he's got a very large margin, enough that Chris Koster has conceded. In his speech there, Chris Koster said it's his sincere hope that Eric Greitens can lead Missouri to a united and prosperous future. Chris Koster thanking his supporters for giving him the chance to run, thanking his family, as he said, thank you for the chance to have this high honor of running for this high office in the state of Missouri. But that's the headline right now. Chris Koster has conceded, so Eric Greitens is the new governor-elect of the state of Missouri.
What do you think about that?
I say, wow, because we would sit here during the primary season and think, boy, this guy Greitens, I mean, he's such an outlier. There's just no way. And I think to his credit, he had enough Republicans in the state coalesce around him, and not just rank and file Republicans, not just conservative voters, but the leadership in the party come together and support him, and obviously it's been successful for him.
We're going to go back out to Josh Hawley, who is apparently, is he accepting the nomination to be the next Attorney General-elect of Missouri?
To meet people all over the state. And I think tonight, based on the numbers that we've seen, what we've seen, is that people are voting for their hopes and they're voting for their highest aspirations. They're voting for a Missouri, for a future for our state that looks different than where we are now. They're looking for a state where new direction, new leadership, a new vision for our state, and that's exactly what we're going to give them. You know, this is, the people of Missouri want someone who's going to stand up and fight for them against the dysfunction in Washington, D.C. They want somebody who's going to stand up to the political establishment and fight against the political establishment for them. And so I just want to say tonight to the families out there who are struggling to pay these higher medical bills, struggling to find a good job or to keep it, I want to say that I'll be your advocate. I want to say to farmers in our state who are stifled by overregulation from Washington, D.C., wondering if they can keep their family farms, I will be your defender. I want to say to teachers and to ministers and to those who are out there trying to change the world, I will be your champion. And I want to say this to the political establishment in Jefferson City. Those of you consultants and the lobbyists and the professional political class who've gotten used to running our state, your day is over. Business as usual is done, and I will be your opponent.
It's always fun to see those acceptance speeches, of course. That was Missouri Attorney General Josh Hawley accepting the nomination.
Yeah, so this is all happening kind of pretty fast here. Things are moving fast right now. Josh Hawley accepting, saying that he has won the race for Attorney General in Missouri. You've heard Chris Koster concede the race tonight. We are moments away from hearing from Eric Greitens, who is your governor-elect in Missouri. He's up in St. Louis with a watch party. We're waiting to hear from our producer that we're going to get up there to get his acceptance speech. He is the projected winner at this point with 62% of precincts reporting. He's got 57% of the vote over Chris Koster's 47%, so this race is over.
And by the way, on the presidential race, Real Clear Politics is called Wisconsin for Donald Trump. And I believe the last time Wisconsin went for a Republican was either 88 or 84.
Wow.
With Ronald Reagan's landslide, George H.W. Bush in 88.
So where are we on the Electoral College right now?
255 for Trump. He is 15 Electoral College votes away from being the president-elect. Who would have thought we'd be sitting here talking about President-elect Trump even three months ago?
And what states are we waiting on?
Still Pennsylvania. Again, Hillary Clinton's hopes to be the 45th president of the United States hang on Pennsylvania, and right now, according to the Real Clear Politics percentage, with about 80% of the precincts in, she is about 1.5 points up on Trump.
But can she win Pennsylvania, and does he have another path?
He's going to have a lot of paths.
Okay.
If he can win Wisconsin, he already has, but he can get Minnesota and Michigan.
We're going to go to Eric Greitens now, who's talking about being the new Missouri governor.
Guys, Sheena and I thank all of you for your faith, your hard work, your service, your sacrifice, your courage, and the fact that all of you have had our back. Thank you so much. You have had our back. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, folks, earlier tonight, I spoke to Chris Koster, and he offered his congratulations to me and to all of you. Yes. And to those of you who are on this team, who've been on this mission for a while, let us always remember that the greatest virtue of the victor is magnanimity. Magnanimity. Let us be humble, let us be welcoming, and let's let everyone who worked for Chris Koster know that we aim to serve them as well. We're going to serve them as well. Folks, around this state, there were thousands of people who stepped up, who joined this movement, who joined a grassroots movement, the likes of which hasn't been seen in Missouri in a generation. And we had law enforcement officers who brought out their friends and their family. I mean, they made thousands of phone calls for us. We had high school students who were up before the sun rose, hanging up campaign signs. And we had so many strong veterans from around this state who stood beside us. And I know that we did something truly special. I know that we did something truly remarkable because somebody just told me that we even had an Army guy who voted for me. So we're bringing everybody together. Look, folks, you okay, buddy? You okay, buddy? Guys, this campaign reminded all of us. It reminded all of us that great teams Great teams are forged in the fire of great struggle. And all of us on this campaign, we knew how much it was at stake. We knew how many people were counting on us to win this election. That mission gave us clarity and courage. That sense of shared purpose gave us strength. And look, like me, most of you have never been involved in politics before. But you joined us, you carried our message, you believed in what we could do together, and tonight we made our voices heard. And look, folks, I know that this wasn't easy. But can I ask you all something? Did we have fun? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We had a fantastic campaign. Folks, tonight begins a new generation of conservative leadership here in Missouri. Tonight, we did more than win an election. We restored power to the people, and we took our state back. There are so many tens of thousands of people around this state who are now counting on us. Children in a foster care system that is failing them. You may never meet them, but they need us. Tonight there are children in the inner cities of St. Louis and Kansas City, and the suburbs of Springfield and Cape Girardeau, and outside the farms of Hannibal, Maryville, and Mountain Grove, who are wondering if the American dream still applies to them, and we must stand up for them. There are law enforcement officers and first responders tonight who are putting their kids to bed and kissing their spouses goodbye, and they must know that we are always going to have their backs.
As you can see there, Eric Greitens talking about his victory tonight. He is the new governor-elect of Missouri.
And he obviously offered some conciliatory words there to the Koster supporters, saying that he and his team are here to help work with those people in the transition and also serve the people who voted today for Chris Koster. Your thoughts quickly on this race tonight?
You still want to come to me? I've been wrong the whole night.
You have been. No, get out of here. What are you doing here? Get out.
Exactly.
Put your computer away.
No, listen. I mean, this is amazing when you think about what the Republicans have pulled off here, and congratulations to them.
Coming up this morning on Daybreak, police are investigating a possible DWI wreck that sent 4 people to the hospital overnight.
And a manhunt is still underway this morning for a man that they consider is armed and dangerous after an officer-involved shooting in Springfield.
Plus, Springfield is less than 2 weeks away from electing a new mayor. We take a look at one of the candidates in the running. We'll have these stories and much more coming up for you this morning on Daybreak. And it is a Friday, March 24th. Happy Friday to you. Glad you're starting it off with us. I'm Heather Lewis.
Or as we like to call it, Fry-yay.
Hey.
I'm Daniel.
Said that a lot this morning.
A lot. This is like the theme of the morning for us.
I know. It's always good to start your day pumped up.
I know. And John Ziegler joins us in the Weather Lab now with your forecast first. Storms this afternoon.
Storms this afternoon. And when you say Fry-yay, for some reason I'm thinking French fries.
Get hungry.
It's because you're on that diet, right?
I'm doing this thing called Whole30. It's awful.
You want all the bad food when you're on a diet.
It's 30 days of just trying to ruin your life. 58 degrees outside. South-southeast winds at 10 miles per hour. You're thinking, why are you losing weight, Johnny? You look so good. But it's because I gained 15 pounds of sympathy weight when my wife was pregnant. So you got to do it. You got to do what you got to do. 58 in Springfield now, 68 down in Branson, 67 in Joplin. How about 64 in Clinton? So we're the cool little pocket here in Springfield, having a little bit of clear sky and we've had winds a little lighter has allowed for the temperature to drop, but most of us are dealing with partly cloudy skies and a very mild start. Already seeing some early convection off to our west. I don't think we're going to see it until the early afternoon, but the winds are just starting to get going. We're actually under a wind advisory, which is surprising because we're only at 10 to 20. These are going to get up to 30 to 40 in about 2 hours from now. So if you're leaving for work at like 8, the winds are going to be much stronger. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about those afternoon storms in the next forecast.
New this morning, a heads up for Mountain View residents. The city is now under a boil water advisory. According to the city's water superintendent, there's been a 10-inch water main rupture on East 3rd Street. Residents are advised to boil their water until further notice.
And Springfield police are investigating to see if alcohol was involved in a wreck that sent 4 people to the hospital overnight. According to Springfield police, the accident happened around 1:15 this morning at Sunshine and Kimbrough. A truck heading west on Sunshine was traveling at a high rate of speed when it struck a sedan, forcing the truck to continue off the road, hit a fence, and roll over, ejecting its 3 passengers. They were taken to the hospital along with 1 person from the sedan that was hit. There are no life-threatening injuries reported. Police sent a strong odor of alcohol coming from the truck driver, and officers followed him to the hospital to conduct a DWI investigation. No arrests have been made at this time.
The manhunt continues for the person responsible for firing shots at officers during a traffic stop in Springfield. This started around 11 o'clock yesterday morning when a Chevy Silverado was pulled over on College in LaFontaine for speeding. As officers approached that truck, the driver took off, firing shots from the back of the truck, breaking out the back window. No officers were hit and they didn't return fire, but their car was hit by bullets. The driver later abandoned what police have determined as a stolen pickup on State and West Bypass. Police set up a perimeter in that area with a canine search, but have yet to locate the suspect. He is considered armed and dangerous. If you have any information, call 911.
And the Johnson County Sheriff's Office says inmates rioted overnight in one of the pods in the county jail. Neighboring counties were called to assist, along with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. It was reported shortly after 10 p.m. and was resolved around 12:15 this morning. There were no injuries reported to any staff members or inmates. No word on the reason for violence.
In political coverage, we continue learning about Springfield's mayoral candidates. Today, we're hearing from Kristi Fulnecki. Born in Oklahoma, the councilwoman moved to Springfield when she was only 3 years old. She attended college at the University of Missouri and went to law school in Washington, D.C. and Indiana. She worked as an attorney at the Department of Interior before managing her own law firm and is now a small business owner and attorney in Springfield. A mom of 6, she says that is her most important job.
That I am a representative of the people and that, you know, I am kind of an agent for them. I feel like I'm working on behalf of them. So I feel like this election is not about me, it's about the constituents.
Priorities on Fulnecki's list are adding more police officers and increasing their pay, along with reducing regulations on small businesses, resolving the jail situation, and reinstating the panhandling ordinance.
And President Donald Trump has given the House an ultimatum: vote on the GOP health care bill either up or down today and move forward. Republicans were supposed to vote on the measure to replace Obamacare last night, but could not muster up enough votes after adding a series of amendments to the bill to make it more appealing to both moderates and conservatives. House Speaker Paul Ryan emerged from last night's closed-door meeting confident it's going to pass. The House goes back into session this morning with a vote expected at some point today.
In more local news now, for some, a trip to the circus is a family tradition, and this weekend is your chance to keep that streak going.
That's right. The George Carlin International Circus is at JQH Arena with an entirely new production, and that's where we find Color 10's Brennan Gurley this morning. Brennan, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. We just met with the Siberian Tigers earlier in the show. Now we're meeting with the Rocket Man, and the Rocket's actually behind us. It's 36 feet long, and it's over 10,000 pounds. I mean, which is pretty heavy just to kind of look at that. It doesn't look that heavy. And joining us now is Chachi Valencia. Chachi, how long have you actually been shot out of a cannon?
Well, I've been in the cannon business for 28 years. I married into the business. I married into an American human cannonball family, and that's what I do now.
And we're looking at the Siberian Tigers right now. Would you rather stick with the cannonball business or be stuck in there with the Tigers?
No, I think I'll take the cannon any day of the week, I think. Yeah.
So what's probably the most dangerous part of your job, would you say?
Well, you know, the thing about the cannon is there's a lot of preparation involved. There's a lot of calculations involved. So, you know, it's really important that those things are exactly right. You know, just a miscalculation of a few inches, you know, I can easily miss the net, you know.
And once you're shot out of the cannon, from the time you're shot out, how far out do you go?
Well, here in Springfield, the distance I will be shooting will be about 130 feet in length and about 60 feet in height. Yeah.
So when you're shot out of the cannon, I mean, this, like you said, you've been in the business for over 28 years. What's going through your mind as you get shot out each time?
Well, the first thing that that I do as soon as I come out is I try to have my body in a certain position with my arms out, like just like you would imagine somebody would be flying, and that's just to keep the stability in the air. And my whole thing is to look at the target, to look at my net, where I'm going to be landing the whole time, hold it as long as possible, and keep my body as tight as possible too. That's how I, you know, that's the position that I need to be to land on the net.
And where'd that passion come from? I mean, it's not every day you hear about somebody getting shot out of a cannon. Where'd your passion come from?
Well, you know, I come from 6 generations of circus performers, so I've been performing ever since I was, 7 years old, and you know, my passion is I love the circus. I love what I do. You know, that's my passion.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Chachi. If you guys want to see the Rocket Man himself, he'll be here throughout the weekend at the George Carlin Circus. Now, also to keep in mind, Daniel and Heather, for every $1 per ticket that's purchased, it's actually going to the Springfield Police Foundation to help raise money for training and additional equipment. And for also, the Carlin Circus has multiple shows starting today through Sunday. We'll have this complete schedule on our website at ozarksfirst.com. Live in Springfield, Brennan Gurley, Color 10 News, ozarksfirst.com.
All right, Brennan, thank you. Good to see that the police department is benefiting from that as well. All right, here's a live look outside. It is 8 minutes past the hour, and we have storms in our forecast. John's up next with all those details.